Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. Just like clockwork, folks. I told you that Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyers would jump on the COVID excuse, and that's exactly what they're doing. Now, her lawyer, Bobby Sternheim, is complaining about the onerous conditions in the jail. And this is obviously their shoe-in. This is their foot in the door. And they're going to try and pry that MFR open and get Ghislaine Maxwell out of jail based on COVID and the quote-unquote onerous conditions that she is living under. It was clear as day that this was going to occur. It was very obvious that their lawyers would jump on this. And it is quite apparent that this is going to be their running theme to try and get Ghislaine Maxwell out of jail while she awaits trial. Now the question becomes, is the court going to fall for the old okey doke? Is the court going to relent? Is the court going to give in to the pressure of another one of society's so-called elites? Now, what about the regular prisoner that is in that same facility? Are they going to be given the same ability to, use COVID as a reason to get out of jail? I highly doubt it. So hopefully that's not what occurs here. But the writing is certainly on the wall for them to try and use this as the predicate to get her out of the clink for a while. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all breaks, and it's certainly going to be interesting to see her lawyers mount this sort of offensive to try and get her sprung on this technicality. And like we always talk about here on the show, folks, technicalities and loopholes. There's a reason these people get off all the time. It's because their lawyers, high-priced lawyers at that, know all of the technicalities, know all of the loopholes, and they're chummy with the people who actually wrote those laws. So yeah, the so-called elite, they've been operating on a different playing field forever. Thankfully, people are starting to wake up and realize and get hip to this. And the more people that get hip to this and the more people that continue to demand that it is equal justice under the law for everybody, the closer we become to having a society where that actually takes place. And I don't know about you guys and you ladies out there and everybody else, and I know that it would be a lot more comforting to know that we actually had a functioning justice system here in America. And it's a tall order to fix it, right? Who the hell knows where to even start? But for me, my own personal strategy is to get rid of all the incumbents that were involved in writing these laws. I will be sending new, fresh faces to D.C. every time I get a chance to vote, because this is absolute bullshit what we have seen here forever. And it seems to just get worse and worse and worse, day after day, week after week, month after month, and certainly year after year. There should be no way that somebody like Ghislaine Maxwell can even begin to try and leverage this coronavirus outbreak to try and get herself sprung. But that's exactly what's going to occur here, in my opinion, and we see the writing on the wall, as this article is going to explain. Our article this morning is from the AP, and the headline, Lawyer, Epstein's ex Maxwell, co-conspirator, fellow child abuser, general all-around scuzzbag and bipedal serpent, Maxwell faces onerous jail conditions. The author of this article is Larry Neumeister. A lawyer for Ghislaine Maxwell, a British socialite, co-conspirator, fellow child abuser, general all-around scuzzbag and bipedal serpent, charged with finding girls in the 1990s for financier, pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein to sexually abuse, said Tuesday that her client is awakened every 15 minutes in jail while she sleeps to ensure she's breathing. Oh, what, she has some people checking in on her to make sure that she doesn't try and kill herself. Hey, sorry. That's the way it goes. You don't want to live under conditions that are pushed upon you and forced upon you. Do not commit these kind of crimes. You'd be spending Thanksgiving with the other so-called members of the elite. You guys could have your Moloch worshiping session. Whatever it is you crazy-ass, weird-ass, disgusting elites do, you could have been doing it. But instead, you were cavorting with Jeffrey Epstein. You were working with Jeffrey Epstein. You were plotting with Jeffrey Epstein. And now you're paying the price. So I don't want to hear about, I gotta get woken up every 15 minutes. So what? I don't care. I don't care. Point blank, period. Look, after all we have read, after all of the evidence that has been presented, just the circumstantial evidence, it is quite apparent to me that this lady, in my opinion, was so involved with what Jeffrey Epstein was up to. She was obviously in a leadership role. She wasn't just this is Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend, some socialite. No, that's not the case. That's the cover story. Attorney Bobby Sternheim told a Manhattan judge that Maxwell faces more restrictive conditions than inmates convicted of terrorism or murder. Maxwell has no history of mental health issues or suicidal ideation, and no criminal history either, she said. Yeah, but that's not the point. The point is, your client is a flight risk. The point is, your client is a high-value suspect. The point is, her buddy, her partner, her friend, Jeffrey Epstein, died under suspicious conditions within a federal facility. So, of course, there is going to be more stringent parameters and protocols put into place when it comes to Ghislaine Maxwell. You know, it's funny to me because no matter how you chop it, these people would be crying. If she was put on the main line in general population, they'd be crying to the high heavens about it. But since she's isolated and by herself, they'll cry about that too. And it cracks me up that her attorney would say that she faces more restrictive conditions. 13 hours to use a computer, that's restrictive. Having a scale in her cell, that's restrictive. Having access to all of her discovery material, that's restrictive. No, that's jail. She asked the judge to intervene on her client's behalf to improve her conditions at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. In her request, Sternheim made no direct reference to Epstein taking his life in August 2019 in his cell at another federal lockup in Manhattan, allegedly. So they're setting the groundwork here, right? The conditions are onerous, and then you got the new COVID outbreak, the second wave. And that is exactly what Bobby Sternheim is planning to do. That's why she was brought in, and that is the goal she's attempting to accomplish here. They're setting the groundwork. They're laying the tape before the paint job. So it is a situation right now where it's obvious what they're doing, right? I mean, you know that Ghislaine Maxwell wants out of that jail cell more than anything. And you know she wants to get back to her life of luxury. And we also know that when they petitioned the court for bail, they were talking about her living in some plush-ass hotel somewhere. Literally none of that should ever occur. And using the coronavirus pandemic as your shoehorn, I don't think is going to work. Not this time around. U.S. District Judge Allison J. Nathan instructed defense lawyers and prosecutors to confer over the next week over Sternheim's request that the Brooklyn facility's warden directly address the concerns. So, what about Joe Blow? Is his attorney going to have the warden directly address his issues? What if he's cold? What if he wants more bologna sandwich? What if he wants an extra orange? Every single one of the inmates should have every one of their requests accepted and put into play? Is that how it works in jail? Of course it doesn't. But Ghislaine Maxwell and her lawyers would like you to believe that other people in the jail are getting more benefits than she is. Literally, that's not occurring, okay? The fact of the matter is this. No matter what they did as far as holding her in jail, it wouldn't be good enough for her and her legal team, and they'd be coming up with excuses, looking for a loophole to try and get her to skate on out. Let's see if the prosecution is cagey enough to stop this. If they can't even stop her from bailing out, then how can we expect the prosecution to bring this across the goal line? So this is a high-stakes event here for the prosecution, in my opinion. They have to flex their muscle here. They really have to flex on Ghislaine Maxwell, and if that means that they have to drop some more charges on her in the meantime, then that's what they should do. Whatever it is that they have on her, they should unleash soon, because I really don't like how their lawyers are setting this up. A spokesperson for prosecutors declined comment. A message for comment was sent to the Federal Bureau of Prisons spokespeople. Maxwell, 58, has pleaded not guilty to charges that she procured 3 girls for Epstein to abuse in the mid-1990s. She has been held without bail while she prepares for a July trial. Well, she shouldn't be bailed out. Did Keith Raniere bail out? Of course he didn't. So why should Ghislaine Maxwell bail out? I say that the blueprint has already been laid. The precedent has already been set. And what NXIVM and Keith Raniere were up to was abhorrent, right? But I don't even think it holds a candle to the absolute disgustingness that we've seen here with Epstein, and for the period of time and the number of people involved. So I think that the punishment should be even harsher here. But it should be no less than what Raniere got, should it? On Monday, prosecutors notified the judge that Maxwell was put in quarantine last week for 14 days after someone who works in her area of the jail tested positive for the coronavirus. She may not meet with her defense team during that period. In their letter, prosecutors said the 13 hours a day Maxwell gets to review trial materials on a laptop computer is more time than any other prisoner is allotted. So, again, Sternheim's right. This isn't a terrorism case. This isn't a murder case. Why does Ghislaine Maxwell get more time than anybody who is charged with one of those crimes? She's not getting special treatment here. Worse treatment than anyone here, folks. She's the one actually getting special treatment. But her lawyers would want to gaslight you and have you think something otherwise. The reference bothered Sternheim, who said Maxwell faces burdens unmatched by other inmates and has been mistreated. She noted that the latest production of evidence by prosecutors was over 1 million documents, and Maxwell lacked enough time to study the material. Wait a minute, I thought before there wasn't enough documents released. Now there's too many for her to go through? Get your story together. Get it straight, Miss Sternheim. You better get with Cohen, you better get with Everdell, and you better figure it out because your stories aren't matching. They're not jiving. You can't have it both ways. She said Maxwell was initially quarantined without soap or a toothbrush, and that medical and psychology staff stopped checking on her, failing to tell her the results of her COVID-19 tests or what to do if she becomes symptomatic. Here's an idea. You get better if you get some symptoms, okay? Just like if you had the flu or a cold, you battle through it. What are they supposed to tell her? Blow your nose if you have a stuffy nose? It's so ridiculous what her lawyer is trying to pump here. It is just straight up rubbish. Prosecutors said Monday that her test result for the coronavirus was negative, and she will be tested again at the conclusion of her quarantine. Well, isn't that nice? Just get her all tested up already, all right? Look, I don't even want to hear about the coronavirus getting Ghislaine Maxwell off the hook here. This is exactly what her lawyers wanted to hear, the kind of shit her lawyers wanted to hear. This is the foot in the door for them. And that's what they're doing, right? They're trying to paint their Bob Ross picture here. The lawyer said Maxwell is kept in what is, in effect, solitary confinement, and she is excessively and invasively searched and monitored 24 hours a day, including camera surveillance in her cell and a camera following her movement whenever she is permitted to leave her cell. Well, those are the safeguards that are needed. Sorry, that's the way it goes. You have a high-profile client who's involved in some pretty dastardly shit, who is certainly somebody that's at a high risk to be assaulted or to be hurt in jail. And Lord knows what's going through her own mind, right? So yeah, there's going to be extra precautions. Deal with it. And despite nonstop in-cell camera surveillance, Miss Maxwell's sleep is disrupted every 15 minutes when she is awakened by a flashlight to ascertain whether she is breathing, she wrote. Oh, that's rough. I mean, just imagine being poor Ghislaine Maxwell. You want to talk about not being able to sleep? You want to talk about having a rough time? How about the nightmares that all of these survivors have that allege that Ghislaine Maxwell assaulted them? How about how they feel? That's what I'm concerned with. Not with how Ghislaine Maxwell feels, and certainly not if she's comfortable in the clink. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. All of the links that go with this episode can be found in the description box. I'll be back later on today with a daily drop if we have some news that is important enough to get out. If not, expect a flashback episode tonight. I have a couple of things to do to get prepared for Thanksgiving tomorrow, so I'm going to be pretty busy tonight doing some prep work. So unless there is something that needs to be addressed immediately tonight, expect a flashback episode, and then, as usual, tomorrow morning, right back into it. All right, everybody, enjoy your day, and I hope that you all have some cool Thanksgiving plans on the table. No pun intended. Folks, until later on, enjoy your day.